Why are Americans more poor than Japanese citizens? Ever wondered why the land of opportunity seems to struggle more with poverty compared to Japan? In this video, we dive deep into the economic, social, and cultural factors that create this surprising disparity. From healthcare costs to social safety nets, discover the hidden truths behind the numbers. Stay tuned to uncover the real story. Safety nets for the groups. The Japanese government has established a comprehensive social safety net that encompasses a wide range of social welfare programs, pensions, and universal healthcare. These programs are intended to serve as a safety net for all citizens, thereby lowering the likelihood that they may slip into poverty. As an illustration, Japan's healthcare system guarantees that all individuals have access to medical treatments at a cost that is reasonably modest. This can help prevent individuals from falling into financial disaster as a result of medical bills. On the other hand, the healthcare system in the United States is more privatized, which frequently results in patients having to pay higher out-of-pocket expenditures. The unequal distribution of income. There is a big problem in the United States that is caused by income disparity. The top 1% of Americans control a significant percentage of the nation's wealth, which contributes to the significant wealth gap that exists between the wealthiest and the poorest Americans. In Japan, where there is a more balanced distribution of income, this disparity is less prominent than in other countries. It is possible to reduce the severe wealth disparities that exist in Japan through the implementation of policies such as progressive taxation and social welfare programs. Access to education and labor market. Education is important to Japan, as seen by the country's robust educational system and high literacy rates. Japan places a high emphasis on education. Additionally, the nation has a culture of long-term employment in which employers frequently offer their workers job stability and perks in exchange for their services. Because of this consistency, many Japanese families are able to enjoy high levels of economic security. Even though there are some of the best educational institutions in the world, the United States of America has a more diverse educational system, and job security can be less reliable, especially in certain fields of enterprise. The expenses of daily life. In spite of the fact that the cost of living in Japan is quite high, particularly in urban areas such as Tokyo, the government provides subsidies for important services such as education and healthcare, which makes these services more affordable. Because of the potentially much higher costs associated with these services in the United States, individuals and families are put under a larger amount of financial duress. A further factor that contributes to the difficulty of the economy is the fact that housing costs in big cities in the United States can be unreasonably high. Aspects of the culture. The cultural views that people have toward money and savings are also a significant factor. Saving money and being prudent with one's finances are traditionally emphasized in Japanese society. By setting aside a sizable amount of their earnings, a considerable number of Japanese individuals create a buffer against the effects of economic downturns. When compared to other cultures, the American society frequently places a strong emphasis on consuming and spending, which can result in increased levels of personal debt and financial instability. When taken together, these elements produce a more stable economic environment for Japanese citizens in comparison to the economic environment for Americans. But hold on, there is more to this story than simply the policies and the stats presented here. Have you ever given any thought to the ways in which cultural views on labor, savings, and community support factor into the equation? A strong feeling of social responsibility in the Japanese ideology of gamen, which translates to endurance, frequently result in increased levels of collective well-being in Japan. On the other hand, the United States of America places a strong emphasis on individualism and self-reliance, which can occasionally result in people being without a safety net. Let's investigate the ways in which these cultural differences influence the political and economic conditions in both countries. As we find these fascinating truths, we invite you to stay with us. Examples of the unequal distribution of income in Japan. Earnings of the top 1% in Japan. The top 1% of households earn approximately $240,000 on average in 2012. This is in contrast to the American top 1%, which earned $1,264,065 in 2012. There is a lesser concentration of wealth among the wealthiest people in Japan, as indicated by this. Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient, which is a measure of economic inequality, was 0.5700 in 2021 before redistribution, taxes, and Social Security was implemented, which indicates that there is a considerable income disparity too. The significance of social programs in lowering inequality is demonstrated by the fact that it was 0.3013 after the redistribution process. The increasing wealth disparity in Japan can be attributed, in part, to the country's aging population, which has already been a contributing factor. It is common for older people to have lower initial incomes, which contributes to an upper limit of the Gini coefficient. In the United States, some examples of income inequality may be found. During the year 2018, the wealthiest 20% of families in the United States earned 52% of the total income of the nation, which was greater than the combined income of the lowest 80% of households. 5. The large concentration of money at the top is brought into focus by this as well. Wealth disparity. The wealth disparity is glaring, with the richest 1% of American households having more than 7 times their previous worth, while the bottom 10% of families went from having $23 in debt to having $450 in wealth. Regional inequality. The level of income inequality varies greatly across the United States, with the highest levels being seen in regions such as New York City, Washington, District of Columbia, and certain regions of California. These instances highlight how the manifestation of income disparity differs between Japan and the United States, which is influenced by a variety of factors including social policies, economic institutions, and demographic trends. Inequality in income can have a number of significant repercussions for a society, including the following. A decrease in economic growth. This is the first of the economic consequences. Economic expansion can be stifled by high levels of income disparity. When a significant percentage of the population has limited purchasing power, the total demand for goods and services diminishes, which can slow down the expansion of the economy. Higher rates of poverty. There is a strong correlation between income disparity and higher rates of poverty. As wealth becomes more concentrated at the top, there are less resources available for the population with lower incomes, which compounds the problem of poverty. Limited social mobility. High levels of inequality has the potential to create obstacles to social mobility. People who come from families with lower incomes may have less prospects for education and job progression, which contributes to the perpetuation of the cycle of poverty. The repercussions on society. Unrest in society. Significant financial gaps can be a contributing factor in social unrest, as well as an increase in the rate of criminal activity. Protests and criminal actions are 2 viable options for those who are experiencing feelings of marginalization or exclusion from economic prospects. The differences in health that are associated with income inequality are frequently linked to health disparities. Individuals with lower incomes may have fewer access to healthcare, nutritious food, and safe living circumstances, which can result in poorer health outcomes. Inequalities in educational possibilities. Inequality can lead to differences in the educational possibilities available to individuals. Families with higher incomes are able to provide their children with a better education, but families with lower incomes may have difficulty gaining access to quality educational opportunities. The deterioration of trust in many institutions. Increased income disparity has the potential to undermine confidence in political and economic institutions. It's possible that people get the impression that the system is skewed in favor of the wealthy, which might result in a reduction in civic involvement and trust in the government. Polarization of policy. Income inequality can be a contributing factor in the development of political polarization, in which various groups advocate for policies that are favorable to their respective economic interests. It is possible that this will lead to a stalemate and inefficient governance. And that's a wrap on why Americans might be facing more financial struggles compared to Japanese citizens. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends. Your support helps us bring more content like this to you. And of course, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.